guys, hi, welcome back once again. My name is Vaishali and today I'd like to talk about addiction and recovery. So what exactly do we mean by addiction and what exactly is recovery? And when I looked in for the root meaning for the word addiction, it actually said to be enslaved and to be bound by something. And when I looked in for the root meaning of the word recovery or to recover, it meant to restore, to regain. So is there any connection between addiction and between recovery? And in my understanding, there is. For every kind of an addiction, in the smaller run, is an escape, is a solution to run away from any kind of pain or discomfort. Now, many a times we view addicts as people who are addicted to some kind of an external substance. And in our common parlance, the understanding of those substances can be cigarette, cocaine, heroin, weed, alcohol, gambling. But as Dr. Gabor Mate would say, it's anything and everything that provides relief in the short term, that provides a temporary solution in the short term, but is unhealthy in the longer term. It's a temporary solution for a problem that seems too big, for a problem, for a pain that seems too huge. And in my understanding, the addiction apart from those substances can also include other substances like tea, like coffee, like binge watching TV. One can even be addicted to fame, to social media. It can also include sex. It can also include porn. It can also include self-pleasure or masturbation. It can also include work as workaholism. It can also include power. It can also include youth. The idea of staying youthful or the addiction to stay youthful. It can also show up in wanting to have excessive control. It can also show up in abusive behaviors. It can show up as love addiction, or rather, the idea of being in love, the idea or the euphoria of what the feeling of love entails. It can also show up as being addicted to abusive behaviors, wherein one finds some kind of a pleasure by being abusive towards others, by being psychologically and physically abusive towards others. We can even get addicted to our own subconscious traumas. We can even get addicted to our own stressors, which naturally is happening at a subconscious level. But without them, we don't get that dopamine high. We don't get and feel the rush of those familiar hormones that we have gotten accustomed to, that we have gotten used to. And thereby, quite naturally, we can even get addicted to our own thinking and to the same environment that creates those kind of stressors, that gives us the familiar feeling and the rush of all of those familiar hormones. One can even be addicted to taking unnecessary risks. For all of these coping mechanisms, which gives a short-term temporary release, a short-term temporary high, a dopamine spike, is actually indicative of a deep pain within which has not been dealt and addressed properly. So when I listened to this song from the movie Sharabi, wherein Mr. Amitabh Bachchan enacts or plays the role of a Sharabi, and he happens to sing this song in front of the woman he loves, in front of the man he truly respects and considers like his own father, Munshi Ji, wherein he goes on to question, Nashe mein kaun nahi hai, mujhe batao zara. Essentially meaning, show me anyone who's not addicted to something or the other. In the song, he also goes on to say, Kisi ko husn ka, kisi ko jawani ka nasha. And if we can truly understand that song, if we can truly look at the song, if we can truly comprehend the song, both through the visual and the auditory senses, we'll come to see a lot of pain that this particular character is going through. We'll come to see a deep wounding, a deep scar, a psychological trauma as a result of his troubled relationship with his father, as a result of his wounded relationship with his father, as a result of a disconnect from his own father, as a result of the psychologically abusive relationship that he has with his father, wherein materialistically, financially, he seems to be very privileged, but very deprived and underprivileged with regards to his psychological well-being, which encapsulates both his emotional and mental well-being. It's a result of that disconnection from his own father that makes him find shelter in alcohol, that makes him find shelter as a son to some degree in the nurturing arms and in the nurturing presence of a man, Munshiji. So when we talk about addiction through any of these escape routes, when we talk about addiction to find a temporary relief for a problem that seems almost unresolvable, it's essentially an internal split, a disconnection, both on an intrapersonal and interpersonal levels. A sense of a loss of belonging, both on intrapersonal self and interpersonal self. And recovery, which is actually restoration, which is actually regaining of something, is the gaining, is the regaining, the restoration that had been disconnected, both on personal and interpersonal levels. It's the restoration of that wholesomeness that had been disconnected, that had gone missing, and has to be recovered, has to be regained. And then I'd come across this beautiful quote which said that when people say they are in addiction or they are addicted to something, what they are actually saying is that they are in active grief. And there is actually no grief without some kind of loss, without some kind of a disconnect. So then let's try and look at addiction a little differently. Let's view it through a different lens. Let's try and understand our own addictive behaviors that may not in obvious ways come across as a substance, as any kind of a substance, but may play out in some other manner. Let's try and reflect on that. Let's try and do that for ourselves so that we can find a way to our own recovery, to our own wholesomeness, restoring the connection both on personal and interpersonal levels. Let's try and do that for ourselves, and I will see you once again the next week. Till then, stay tuned in. And guys, if you do like the contextual content of these videos, please do like, share, and subscribe.